Well, actually, we do eat it for dinner.
We'll have it any time of day because it's delicious. You can make it more savory if you want it dinnerish, but I love strata this time of the year because on Christmas morning when everybody's finished wrapping or opening the packages and everybody's starving, you've got that thing. It's been soaking for several days.
And crash that my mom does it on a lower heat. You'll notice like a lot of stratas are cooked on 400 or 375, and hers is cooked on 325. And that makes the eggs more custardy. If you have tried the frittata in my book, I cook that really, really low. And it makes the eggs more custardy and it doesn't give them that spongy.
Yeah.
And then B, it's a lot more forgiving. So if the packages, what are they called? The presents. If the presents go over, if the stockings go over, you can leave it. You can just turn the oven off, leave it in there for 10 more minutes, and it's not gonna get that spongy, overcooked egg texture.
But I think the real key to the strata, which you all know by now, is that you can do it up to 3 days, soak it up to 3 days. And the longer it soaks, the yummier it is.
Truly. So we're here on December 22nd. And oh,
puke.
guys, sorry. Tavish, what's his name? Tavish has become a puker. Like
Why you do that? Why you do that? Let your mommy cook. Okay, that's all I have to say. Merry Christmas.
Okay, yeah. So we had this every Christmas morning growing up, with or without baby vomit in it.
And, more kid friendly might be just the sausage, the cheese.
Yes.
Great.
If you are trying to get your kids to eat this and your kids are egg people, my kids don't eat eggs, so I don't have to worry about them. This is for all of the adults who are going to be here, my in-laws, my sister-in-law and her husband. This is for the adults. And by the way, this 9x13, it'll be enough breakfast for 6 people for
easy
2 days.
Yeah.
So the day after.
And it reheats beautifully. Yeah.
So leave out the pimentos and I'm going to wash my hands. Leave out the pimentos and the herbs if you are feeding kids. He says, what do you feed the kids? All right, let me wash my hands. All right, Crash has her hands full. That's not the most Christmassy scene you've ever seen. Wrapping paper, coffee, and a baby. All right, goodbye.
Not the bottle.
Oh, and the bottle. All right, love you. Megan said, what are you feeding the kids? And I am feeding the kids. I'm making like an ambitious cinnamon roll recipe because I want to. But you can also do my cheater cinnamon rolls. I sent them out in an email. Oh, here. This week. You could come back for more wrapping paper. She's like the one trip from the car after the grocery store. She's gone. I can't watch that. And so yeah, anyway, I'm making cinnamon rolls for the kids. Anything but pancakes. Pancakes have no place on Christmas morning because you're standing there flipping all morning unless you make them ahead and reheat them. Okay, let's do it. I promised efficiency this morning. So let's get right into it. Computer volume down by 1. James Taylor Christmas. Anyone is wondering what I'm listening to? If you have my favorite like famous artist Christmas track album that we don't know about, let us know. But James Taylor has been like my sleeper hit this year. Okay, let's get into it. Christmas strata. There's a lot of people prepping with me, and it is that time of the year. We've got to be efficient with our time. So let's get the sausage button. Jimmy Dean. I'm from North Carolina. It's going to be Jimmy Dean always, but Italian sausage is also great here. In fact, we end up using Italian sausage a lot if we're, somewhere that doesn't have Jimmy Dean. I just cut those in half, and then I'm going to get them into a skillet on the stove to start cooking. If you want to make this strata another time, you can use chicken sausage, and you don't even have to brown, those pre-cooked chicken sausages. You don't even have to brown them, but sometimes I do just because they look prettier. And like raw looking chicken sausage without some direct color on it can look a little meh. but I like chicken sausage in there. I wanted to make this a no cook strata, and I kept playing around with it. Like I did no sausage. Um, but ultimately, I wanted to give you like a one pretty close to what I grew up having. The only difference is my mom used roasted red peppers, and I really like pimentos in this. I almost called this a pimento cheese breakfast casserole, and I wanted to just stick with Christmas strata. Sarah says, any suggested spices if you can only find ground pork? Great question. So she can't find sausage. She can only find ground pork. They don't have, wait, Austria, don't they love sausage in Austria? Okay. Into a medium high skillet. So great question. This is also just a great hack if you have ground pork in the freezer and you want to make something, a recipe that has sausage. It's also like a health hack. Not that we need to do that this time of year, but ground pork is a lot lower in fat than ground sausage. Ground sausage uses a lot of fat in it. That's why it's so greasy. So if you ever want to make a recipe that calls for sausage a little leaner, you can use ground pork and you can add dried oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, a little bit of red pepper flakes, and a little bit of vinegar, and like a lot of salt will kind of mimic the flavors of sausage. That's something I used to work for, like a kitchen appliance company. I was like their head recipe developer freelancer right before, I guess, kind of right before I had Mattis, so 2018. And they were always trying to do like healthier for you recipes, and that was one of my big like hacks. Was like no sausage, or like mimicking the flavors of sausage. Okay, someone asked if I like my new kitchen, and I do. So I went with IKEA. I keep promising that I'll like share about it. And it's been just a wild ride trying to get moved in and then the holidays. I do really like it. These are all IKEA. Even a lot of people will replace the door fronts when they do IKEA. And I decided they were so inexpensive. I probably spent, I mean, not, inexpensive in the world, but for kitchen appliance or for kitchen gear, I probably spent a few $100s on all the door fronts. And so I figured if I hate them, I'll replace them later. But this is the look I wanted. I wanted white shaker because I wanted to do a lot of color elsewhere. So I wanted white shaker cabinets, and this is an IKEA option. So far, really good. I did big drawers everywhere instead of cabinets because it's so much more accessible. This is all my um like baking dishes. And then they have these secret drawers inside so you don't lose all that space. So what do I get? An egg spatula, big wooden spoon to cook our sausage. Got this. All right, so big wooden spoon, breaks up that sausage. I like to get some nice color on it. You'll notice I put no fat in there. Our friend Sarah in Austria will need to add some fat to her pan to cook her ground pork to get it like nice and crispy caramelized. But sausage has so much fat in it already that we don't even need to add in it. So Sarah will need to add like a tablespoon of oil to her skillet to get that pork nice, cooking nicely. Um, okay, so I'm just breaking that up. And then we'll abandon it for a minute and head back over here. Okay. Grab your bread. So, fun thing. I almost made this a my mom, we always have English muffins because my dad is an English muffin guy. Like he has an English muffin with strawberry jam for breakfast every single morning. Um, so I almost made an English muffin breakfast casserole, but I decided to just say sourdough. So these are sourdough English muffins. But sourdough is so delicious in a strata. If you've ever made the George, I think it's called George's breakfast casserole, it uses white bread. He grew up in a house that uses white bread in their breakfast casseroles. I grew up in a house both that uses sourdough. They're both really good. The white bread will be like less flavor, right? Sourdough has like that sour, punchy flavor. So that's what I like. All right, so just stack a few up. We're going for like 4-ish cups of bread. So just kind of stack a couple up. Use that claw, like you kind of use your fingers to grab all around the bread, hold it together, pivot it. You can do like 3 or 4 slices stacked up. And this is another thing about my strata. that is different than some others that you'll find. A lot of stratas like big, like 1-inch cubes of bread. I like the smaller, the better for me. I want to not have to like wrestle with a piece of bread. And the smaller they are, I find that the more like custardy and kind of tender the strata is. And it's not, instead of dry. The bigger the piece of bread, like the egg can't soak all the way through. All right. So 4 to 6 slices of sourdough, or I'm doing 4 English muffins. Let me just chop through those. Does anybody have a food tradition that they'll share with us? If you're cooking along with me, you don't have the hands to type. But if you're not cooking along with us, tell us about like something you grew up with. This just screams Christmas to me because mom had it ready. I remember her making it the night before. We always go over to our friend Julian Warren's house. Warren's passed away this year. Julie is my mom's best friend. And like 20 years ago, my mom's oven crapped out. She was hosting her parents, was hosting, I think, her sister, some of my cousins, Vetuses too. Everybody was in town and her oven quit working. And Julie called. As legend has it, Julie called right at that minute. And, my mom picked up the phone and goes, "Oh my God, the oven." And this is so my mom. This is why my mom's nickname is Crash. Like, disaster follows her. She's Amelia Bedelia. And she picks up the phone. "Oh, my oven went out and I just put the roast in. Da, da, da." And Julie said, "Come over." She was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Just come over, do Christmas with us. If you're cooking sausage, keep an eye on it. Do Christmas with us." It's her and her in-laws. And so they combined Christmases. And I've got some nice color on my salty from the episode. They combined Christmases and they still, to this day, all do Christmas together. George and I live in California now, so we've not been home for Christmas Eve in very long, but it's always over at the Hutton's house every single Christmas Eve. And we have like the same menu. Turducken, which is a turkey, a duck, and a chicken somehow like roulade together. It's not my favorite. All the traditional sides and Julie's fudge pie, which I'm sending out. It might be out right now. Molly was just doing the fine with it. Okay, so that's my Christmas tradition. I saw some coming through. Oh my God, Molly, I love that. Molly Cotroneo says we always get Cinnabons for Christmas morning. Amy in Houston, Texas says Christmas morning scones. Oh, how British of you. Rosemary and cranberries. Do they look like Christmas trees? Cinnamon rolls for the kids. Kate says surf and turf on Christmas Eve is one of my family's favorite food traditions. I love that. Kristen says green chili cheese egg casserole. Yeah. All right. So getting these pimentos open. If yours are as stuck as mine are, these tin tops, you just whack them until they kind of dislodge enough for you to open. And just head over to your sink and drain those off and drain the artichokes off. I'm turning my sausage off, by the way, for anyone who was cooking sausage with you, because mine is ready. Right, so a whole can of artichokes. Okay, wait, I want to read this because I'm fascinated. I do like pancakes and waffles for Christmas morning, but just those little themed waffle makers and the kids love them. Okay, that's true. I also do think there's like, I'm like, oh, make the strata because it's ready and you can pop it in and you can get back to Christmas. There is a part of me that like having kind of a slower thing to do, like sit around and make waffles, can be nice on Christmas morning because it can go by so fast and you're kind of like, what now? So I think that's cute too. The strata is good for like immediate protein first thing in the morning. And then I think throughout the day, it can be kind of slower, like peckier or things would take a little longer, things that you can sit around for. Maybe we'll do like pancakes for lunch or something that the kids would love. Little holiday themed waffle makers, a cute idea. All right, so I'm just draining these off through my fingers into the sink. the pimentos through clean pans that are not covered in puke. Oh, there's a lot of good food traditions in the chat. So read through those. Cinnamon rolls Christmas morning. I feel like so many people do cinnamon rolls Christmas morning, which is sweet. We always would do like the canned cinnamon rolls Christmas morning for sure, like with this strata with fruit casserole, but we never made them from scratch, and I'm making them from scratch this year. I decided, so I take a week off of social media every Christmas season. I'm taking 2 weeks off this year. I just had a fall. I just need like a little break. So I'm taking 2 weeks off, and I like have pre-planned the like elaborate recipes I want to cook because, when food is your job, you get to cook all the time, which is awesome. But it also means that I'm like always recipe developing in my head. Uh, so I never follow other people's recipes because I'm always like thinking of what my next what to cook recipe can be. And so I'm excited to just like follow some other people's recipes and just relax while cooking, listen to a book, not writing any notes down. Okay, my bread is going into the skillet. So this is a little extra thing that I like to do to kind of toast the bread up a little bit in that residual heat. And it soaks up the excess grease in just this really delicious way that if we were to just pour all of this into a bowl together, the bread wouldn't absorb this grease first. So just give that a little stir in there to let it absorb that flavor. That's just like pure flavor. We do not want to get rid of that excess grease. Okay. And then we'll keep chopping over here. Actually, we're going to work on our eggs. Grab a large bowl. I'm still very much getting used to my new kitchen. I'm like, grab a bowl. Where are the bowls? I don't know. And wisp. Where are the wisps? I don't know. If you were a wisp, where would you be? Grab a fork if you don't have a wisp. All right. We're using 12 eggs. Karen, I used a 10-inch skillet, but the bigger the better always when you're doing things like that. Like, look how full that was. It's always easier to use a bigger skillet. All right, 12 eggs right in. I'm sure you guys all know this, but I crack eggs on a flat surface so that the eggshell stays flat, and you use your thumbs to break it. If you crack an egg on the side of a bowl like this, all the eggshell just goes jabs straight into the egg. So that's an I remember learning that from my garden. Like watching the Food Network in college. That was like what I did. I'd like be hungover on the couch watching Food Network. I got a shell. All right, you guys know that trick, right? If you have a shell in there, I think I just got it. But if you have a shell in your eggs, you use the shell to get it out. You like scoop the shell in there and it like attracts to it. Rosemary, I'll do a little tour of the kitchen at the end so that whoever's in a hurry trying to get through breakfast prep can get through it. And then whoever has a second, I'll tour you around the kitchen. Um, okay. Another shell. So I do also think like not to throw George under the bus, but I sent him to the store for this. Sweet man. And he is a cheap grocery shopper, which is fine. But for certain things, like if you're making a breakfast casserole, I get the nicest eggs. And their shells are a little like more firm, and not as crackly. Have you guys noticed that? Because like the chickens have better nutrients. So I find that the cheaper the egg, the more shards of shell like try to jump into your food. All right. We did that. Eggs are in. I'm bringing those. My mom's on this live. She's sitting over there in her couch watching this. Hi, Mom. Uh, these are for the garden. So you blend those up in the blender. Then you can sprinkle them all over your garden. All right, we've got eggs in. We've got a pint of heavy cream. So I redeveloped this whole recipe because my mom's recipe only uses a cup. Where's the heavy cream? My mom's recipe uses a cup of heavy cream, and I love using up whole ingredients. You guys, my what to cookers, you guys know this. I love using the whole thing so that you don't have like a half a cup of heavy cream going bad. So anyway, we use the whole pint, and it's Christmas morning, and it's decadent, and it's fabulous. But also think about the fact that this makes about 12 servings, so it's really not that decadent. So use the whole pint. You can also use half and half. You can also use milk, but use a little bit less of those. So a pint is 2 cups. Use like a cup and a half. All right, now all of our spices in. This only uses a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, okay? Which is not a lot of salt for how many eggs this is. But that sausage has a lot of salt. And typically, jarred things have added salt. So these artichoke hearts have salt in them, and those pimentos probably have salt in them. Depends on the brand. But I found that even when I used a teaspoon of salt, which should not be too much for 12 eggs, it was too much. This is A Salt Pig by Emil Henry, and I love it. Somebody just said fancy salt thing. Oh, it's Katie. Hi, Katie. Katie at Beatrice and Bubblades. You guys don't follow her if you like reading romance. Although, Katie, you read things other than romance. I don't. If you need some good book recs, follow Katie. All right. Our pimentos in. So you can either use 2 jars of pimentos or you can use 1 of those tall jars of roasted red bell peppers. But then you have to get them out of the jar, chop them up. So just use the pimentos. It's easier. Use whatever is like cheaper. Like at my grocery store, 2 jars of pimentos. The pimentos were on sale, so I used those. Oh, I didn't finish seasoning. We got to finish our seasoning. So black pepper, my grinder's out. 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I really go back and forth on how to tell you guys to use black pepper. What I mean by that is I never want you, I say freshly ground black pepper, right? Because the taste of freshly ground really is so different. I never want you to like, okay, 1/4 teaspoon. Like I never want you to do that. But I've also found that when I write like a few grinds of pepper, it also confuses people. So I just say several grinds of pepper, and you go like that, and you look, and you go, "Oh, that's how much pepper I like." But I know that if you're not super confident in the kitchen, that can be confusing. So I don't know. What do you think? I kind of go back and forth on that one. All right, we're adding garlic powder and onion powder. And again, I usually use like at least a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, but we're only using 1/4 of each. So 1/4 teaspoon onion powder. I wonder how my people are doing who are following along. Katie prefers a few grinds. I kind of do too. 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. My mom adds herb de Provence into her strata. I do not. I don't add herb de Provence into this. I think it's too herby. I like the fresh herbs, the fresh chives, but I don't like the herb de Provence. But if you want to be like Crash, then you need to add those in. Um, okay, that's all of our seasoned spices. So if you're following along with me, so far we've done 12 eggs, pint of heavy cream, half teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon black pepper, but several grinds, a 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon onion powder. So now let's attack these artichokes. So let's talk about this. I love canned artichokes, but they cannot just be dumped into a strata. They need to be given a little bit of attention. So as you are chopping them, I want you to kind of feel the leaves. And if there's any hard ones, I want you to get rid of them. Okay. These are actually really good ones. What brand was that? It was not a fancy brand, but these all feel really good. But every now and then you'll get a jar of artichoke hearts and the leaves are all like hard. And like you take a bite and it's stuck in your mouth and it's like the hard part of the artichoke leaf that you're not supposed to eat. Maria really did a good job. All right, so we're just roughly chopping these. I'm telling you, even if you're not an artichoke lover, the artichoke, like the egg, like goes between the leaves and it just gives the most delicious texture to your strata. What do I have on the floor? All right. So chopped artichokes into in there. Okay. And then I just went out to the garden, my mom's garden that she planted for me right before. Oh, Karen says, I'm doing mushrooms and sausage. I assume the mushrooms should be sauteed. Yes. Saute your mushrooms in with the sausage. If you run out of fat and the mushrooms are looking dry, just add a little bit more olive oil. This is chives and parsley. They were kind of like intermingling, and I love parsley in Estrada. So if you have parsley into the fridge from cooking something else, add some of it to there. But the chives just add this like really subtle oniony flavor. So get in there and chop your chives up really, really thinly, or your medley of herbs. No matter what herb you're using, I want it to be really, really fine. I don't want you to get that big piece of herb, you know, in your bite. Chives, scallions are good here, but I've used less of them. Like I don't use one or two scallions even. Yes, Lisa says, can I use dried chives and parsley? Yes. So dried anything, dried herbs are basically like a concentrated version of what you're using. So I think I called for, or did I say a handful? Yeah, I ended up saying a handful of chives because again, I don't want you to measure that. I don't want you to stick that in a cup. Um, the dried version is much stronger. Okay, it's been like dried, so it's concentrated flavor. So I only want you to use like a half a teaspoon of dried chives, maybe a half teaspoon of dried chive, or yeah, a half teaspoon dried chives, a half teaspoon of dried parsley. And again, if you want to be like my mom, use use herb de Provence. It is good. I don't know. It's just not for me. I don't like the dried or like the rosemary, the hard herbs in here. I like soft herbs in here. Rosemary, thyme, those are hard herbs. Parsley, cilantro, basil, chives, those are soft herbs. Make sense? All right, so we've got our chives in. What are we missing, guys? We've got our chives in, our tomatoes, our shredded cheddar, and then we're off to the races. So let's talk about this. I called for shredded cheddar in this recipe. Because you guys know, I'm going to start mixing this up while I talk. I often will make you shred it yourself if I want it to be really perfectly melty, cheese pulley. I'm going to make you shred it yourselves because cheese companies add a like white protective coating. It's almost like flour to make sure that those cheese shreds don't stick together. But yeah, like potato starch, natamycin. No, that's a natural mold inhibitor. It's potato starch added to prevent caking. So they add a starch to make sure that these cheese shreds don't stick together. If I'm making like a pizza, then you're not going to use that. I'm going to shred it myself. But here, it doesn't really matter. I'm not looking for like the perfect cheese pull. So that's why I called for shredded cheese. And I also just like, it's about like, the payoff to the reward. It's not going to be so much better if you grade it yourself here that it's worth it. So just buy the pre-shredded, dump it in. Give that a little stir. And then when you add all of this to your 9 by 13, things are going to want to like all the cheese is going to want to drop in one place. Don't worry. We're going to fix that. Okay, did I add everything in? I need to add my sausage and bread. Throw a piece of bread down there. So some people, sometimes I'll like layer in these things. I'll add it to the 9 by 13 first, but I really like to add everything to the bowl with this one to get everything combined before it's in the baking dish. Oh, okay. I'm just stirring everything together. And you'll see what a thick, custardy creation we've made. I want to know how my cooks are doing, how everyone who's prepping breakfast with me are faring out there. But their hands are full. So you guys have to let me know at the end how you did. Could you keep up? Do I need to slow down? I used to during COVID, and a lot of those people are here, Amy Strickland in particular. During COVID, when I had, only a couple thousand followers on Instagram, we started teaching cooking classes just as a way for like people to get together. I taught them, and all the money went to charity, mostly No Kid Hungry, because all the kids who were out of school were not receiving lunches anymore. So mostly No Kid Hungry, but I started teaching these charity cooking classes, and they like really took off because everyone had nothing to do at home. And so I got really good at like knowing how slow I needed to go during the chopping parts, and I could speed up during whisking parts. Lisa was there. Her son would always join with us. But so I'm out of practice. It's been a few years since I've had to like go slow enough. Ariel says, I only have 1 cup of shredded cheese. I'm thinking I'll add in some ricotta. Yes, you will, Ariel. Whisk it in with everything. Ricotta, cottage cheese, any of those are really, really delicious in here. All right, so I'm just slowing down to give people a chance to catch up with us since I haven't heard from any of our folks, and I'm worried that, they're gone. Salty tears into the mix. What does that mean, Karen? Okay. Our baking dish. This is actually a great time to talk about this. I've got Pam right now from a what are they called? Photo shoot that I had, like right when we moved into this kitchen. They spray food to make it look alive. So you can use Pam. I don't. I never have Pam, but I do right now. Is my point. So you can use Pam to grease this, but even more delicious would be to grab a tablespoon of butter and rub it everywhere. Oh, Karen, that's so sweet. Um, a tablespoon of butter and rub it everywhere, or take the wrapping off of a stick of butter and rub it everywhere. Because butter tastes good. I don't know if you guys knew that. All right, in we go. So again, try to just like go back and forth as you're pouring it in so that everything distributes evenly. Otherwise, things have a tendency to like all the goodies will drop in one place and then the egg will all be in the next place. So just go kind of back and forth as you pour it. Okay, Chancey says she's still here. Okay, Chancey, you did it. We did it. All right, now just push everything out into the corners. Out into the corners. Oh, it looks so beautiful and Christmassy. I kept trying to write and, make sure that anyone who has already been celebrating Hanukkah or doesn't celebrate Christmas knows that this is just a great breakfast casserole anytime. But I will say it's quite festive looking for the Christmas holiday because it's got the red, it's got the green. Sausage screams Christmas at my house. I'm from the South. I mean, Jimmy Dean says Christmas to me. All right, guys, 9:38, like pretty good. I said we'd be in and out in 30 minutes, and we're in and out in 38. We needed a little cameo from Grass and Dab to start the day. All right, so look how easy that cleanup is. I've got a cutting board. I've got a few spices to put away. Got to put away that skillet, but that's it. It's a pretty easy one if you're not cooking live with us. Like I'm teaching the class and I'm still almost completely cleaned up already. All right, I don't have any aluminum foil. I'm not an aluminum foil person. I just like don't. I don't know. I don't use it a lot. So when I bake this, I will do my favorite trick of putting a sheet pan on top of it. Okay. I'll put a sheet pan on top of it for 40 minutes and then I'll remove it for 15 to 20 for it to let it continue to puff up and get those like crispity edges around the side. You'll know it's ready when there's no loose egg liquid sitting on the top. So this is going to puff up and then there's going to be like, egg mixture, wet, still sitting on the top. And you're going to go, okay, it's not quite ready yet. Put it back in for a few minutes. When that's gone, that's when you know it's ready. I said, I'm not a foil. Oh, plastic wrap. Yeah. I was like, what am I going to cover this with? If you know that this is not the proper way to cover a dish with plastic. You're supposed to put the plastic wrap underneath and then wrap it over. That's how you get it to stick really well. But sometimes we don't do things properly. This is pretty sticky. Veronica, I did it. I work at a church, so I'll be working 11:30 to 6:30 on Christmas Eve. So it's nice to have this prep and ready to go. Veronica, Merry Christmas. That's so cool. My dad, growing up, I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and there's a very small, it's like sort of Protestant-y sect. What is the word for like the different religious? I don't know. Moravian is how I grew up. I'm a Moravian. And they do this really beautiful love feast on Christmas Eve. Mom, did they do it on Christmas too? I think just on Christmas Eve. But so Christmas Eve, my dad worked the love feast. He was an usher. Denomination. Jancy. I knew you were here for a reason. Moravian is a denomination, sort of like Protestant Episcopalian. And we're Moravian. It's this like only in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and like a few other places. And they have this beautiful love feast. And people come from all over North Carolina to see it. Old Salem is the Salem part of Winston-Salem. It's been there. They were like early settlers. And there's these beautiful beeswax candles that you wrap a red paper, like mache thing around. And beautiful hymnals and hymns. And you get this love feast bread and coffee during the service. And so we'd like sit there and warm up our bread on our coffee. And even the kids get to drink the coffee. And my dad was an usher. My mom was an usher too, but she was a bread deliverer. They wore these like, Mom, you had to own it. God, I wish she was here. I wonder if they still do this. The women, because it's like a traditional service, the women had to wear these like little white frilly skirts. Like doilies on their bodies. Oh my God. Whoa, I haven't thought about that in a long time. And like, Mom, didn't you have to wear something on your head too? Tavish must be screaming at her because she's not answering. But yeah, my dad would be gone all day on Christmas Eve. So anyway, thank you too. Well, what was her name? Who works at the church? Was it Maureen? No, Veronica. Thank you, Veronica, for working and making so many people's Christmas so special. Oh my gosh, watching with my 9-week-old. Al, you know how jealous I am. I'm like, I feel sentimental for a week ago with my baby. I'm like, time goes too fast. All right, guys, pop this in your fridge. If you're still here. Oh, hi. Hi, I'm doing an Instagram live right now. You come in. This is Tina. Tina's making my house beautiful.
Thank you.
You go ahead, do whatever you do. He's waving. All right. If you're still here and you want to see the kitchen, I'm trying to think how to do this. So, trying to think of how to give you the perspective. All right. Don't look at my face. Gigantic. Okay. Thank you all for cooking, Chansey. I'm so glad I know. Chansey, I used to warn people. I'd send out an email right before class and say, get all your ingredients out because, it's going to be fast and furious. And I forgot to do that. So I'm glad you did that. Merry Christmas, everybody. If you're popping off, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If you want to see a quick tour of the kitchen, I'll give you. Okay, so again, we went with white shaker cabinets. We wanted to do some like fun, different feeling color. At my last house, I did green cabinets and I loved them. but I just wanted to do something different here. So I wanted to add color on the trim and the ceiling. Lily, really, my best friend and who also designed the house, is the thought of all of this. But um, I just said, like, I want white cabinets and I want to add color other places. So that's what we did. So again, this house is 100 years old. So we did not want to go with like some super fancy, and I also like couldn't afford some super fancy, marble everything. Marble everything is kind of like the style right now. And I wanted to stick with something that feels like it could like really have been here when this kitchen was built 100 years ago. So we did all black walnut countertops. I was going to just do butcher block. And then I talked to my friend who's a contractor, and he was like, no, if you want these to last a really long time, you're doing them everywhere, go with black walnut. So that's what I did. And I think they are really beautiful. I really, really love them. So there's just drawers everywhere. This is the island. Shoot. You see? Ah, this is the island. I measured it perfectly to have 4 stools for my 4 boys. And I have to say, we end up eating in here all the time. We've got a dining room right next door, and we end up eating right here most of the time. Uh, this is all storage down here of like, the storage underneath the stools is all the things that you don't need a lot. Vases, my big like jugs for water for parties. So I just used them for Callum's party this weekend. And then around the island, I've got a lot of good storage. So my silverware is here. So I'm like, here, I'm cooking, makes the plate, and then you kind of like exit this way, grab your silverware, and go. That was the thought. Every now and then I'm like over there, and I need a fork, and I have to walk all the way there. So I don't know. It's all kind of still in flux where things will be, but liking, just really happy with the IKEA product so far. Um, so we did these big wraparound shelves around everything. And that's my big window that face that view. That's why I had to buy this house. We needed more space. We got pregnant with a 4th kid, and we suddenly realized we had outgrown our 2,000 square foot house. Um, and especially with my job being in the kitchen, um, and I work from home, like we simply needed more space for me to be able to create content and have all these kids in the house all the time. So anyway, we looked at this house, and I was like, I don't want to move. We had just finished a renovation. I don't want to move. And then I saw this house, and that view, like, so that's the backyard, and it's just stunning. And Carmel Valley is such a beautiful place. Most houses have really beautiful views. Our old house did too, but it was like through one. We had one little view, and here it's just all over. You look, that's Big Sur. So you're like looking at the Big Sur mountains, and it's pretty cool. Um, oh, these jeans are mothered. They're really expensive. They send them to, don't buy them. They're too expensive. But I really like them. But, what are you gonna do? So open wraparound shelves. I've got my Christmas mugs up there. I've got my cookbooks above the fridge. I did all cafe appliances again. I used them in the last kitchen, using them again this time. Really like them. Wrap around, same walnut shelves. Again, we like almost did white. We almost did white painted shelves, and then decided to just do a full send with the wood. What else, guys? Oh, I've got so it's glassware over there. Some like kitcheny cooking things that I need there. And then shrimp. And then more just storage, so much storage. In our last kitchen, I had like literally 2 cabinets. So this is a game changer. This is also going to be double. So I have trash cans over there, and then trash cans here too, because the dining room is right beside here. But right now it's holding animal food, cat food, dog food. But yeah, just some sorts. This is my shit drawer. Everyone needs one. Um, Kid snacks are kind of in these 3. Napkins and tablecloths are here. Bowls and like tall things. There's a food processor under there. all my like dishes and stuff are there. Um, yeah, I'm really happy here. I've really enjoyed cooking in this kitchen, developing recipes here. It's a very like chefy home. It has a great energy for all my baking dishes. I love these big deep drawers. Those are some of my cast irons, more of my cast irons. And then there's these secret drawers here. I have my sheet pans, my muffin pans. I love them. You know, it's only been like 3 months of actual use. So stay tuned for like, I don't know, a year in review of the IKEA. But so far I'm really happy. There's definitely quirks. Um, the baseboards, like what goes under is like just kind of cheap looking and flimsy. And so I think I'll have a carpenter go in with real wood and do these baseboards. Jonas' fault. He's like, when you vacuum and you hit them, oh, shoot, you guys didn't see that. Sorry, the baseboard or the toe kick, the baseboard, whatever this is. These are a little flimsy. So I could see myself having to carpenter go in and trim out the baseboards with real solid wood at some point. Because like you hit them with the vacuum and they like piece snaps off and you have to snap it back on, at least you can find it, and that's annoying. Okay, any questions, guys? Merry Christmas. Rosemary. Karen says, what ceramic dishes do you love? Stove. I love stove. STAUB. That's all the ceramic dishes that I have are. Actually, no, that's not true. I have a little Le Creuset and I have a V8 tree from, that was a wedding present. I always make my Christmas strata in that, actually. Not this year. Like the one up here that I use that giant pan. Um, these are all stove ceramic baking dishes. I really like them. I always get them on sale, around um like a Black Friday or something. I just got all those green ones this year because I thought I was going to have them out on the shelves. I needed more stuff, but I ended up not. Do you have a drawer microwave? If so, what brand do you recommend it? Yes, this is my second time using this exact one. This is again GE Cafe Appliances. I think it's just called Cafe now, and I love it. I absolutely love it. If you've been following me for a long time, you might remember that when Mattis was like 18 months old, I was in the back, like nursing Callum or changing his diaper or something. And all of a sudden I smelled smoke and I was like, oh God. And I sprint out and Mattis had put a Hot Wheel in the microwave and microwaved it. And after that, I was like, I'm never, this is crazy. I'll never do a drawer microwave again. It shouldn't be accessible to a kid. But I just like it because then it's like, I like that this is completely hidden. When you walk in the house, you like don't look at microwaves. That's why I put it here instead of here or there or something. Because I don't know if a microwave. So you can lock these. You can put child locks on these. But I currently don't have any kids who would microwave a Hot Wheel. So I'll deal with that when Tabish is microwaving Hot Wheel age. Hi, Emily. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. Karen says, thank you. The bowls and plates are soap. No, I'm sorry, Karen. I thought you meant what ceramic like baking dishes do I use? Because I just used that one. Hot Wheels. Okay, so over here I have all my dishes. And where to start? So again, I had a photo shoot. Y'all will be the first to know what the photo shoot was for, but I had a photo shoot here. Is that my mom sending the Moravian? Yes. Okay. If you're interested in learning more about the Moravian love, please click there. I had this photo shoot here, right? Like it wasn't even after we moved in. We moved in because of the photo shoot. Like the kitchen had to be done for this photo shoot in early September. And I did not have enough dishes to fill the shelves, but I've always had this tiny kitchen. So I bought a lot of new sets for that. These are all from Over the Moon, and they're a brand called Carolina Irving and Daughters. I love them. She has a million different patterns. I've known for years, and I finally had this like great excuse and a budget to buy things, which was so lucky because I like had a photo shoot budget. Yay. Okay, this is my Christmas present last year from my mom. Oh, they're dirty. Um, I hosted our family, the Chambers family, last Christmas, and we all got stomach flu, and it was a disaster. But I told my mom, I was like, I really want, like, if when you're ready to pass it down, I want your spode Christmas stuff. And so she ended up giving me for Christmas. She gave me new. So I think my sister will get her old spode stuff. But this was my Christmas present from my parents last year. Classic spode. Some more Carolina Irving on these. Amanda, I can't tell you. It's so annoying. When I used to not be an internet person and internet people would be like, something cool coming up. I can't tell you what it is. I'd be like, shut up. Like, you're not that important. We don't care. And now I'm that annoying person because I want, like, I want you to know why I own all these beautiful ceramics. It's not like that's not normal. It was for a photo shoot, but I also can't tell you what the photo shoot was for. So I'm sorry. And I'm not annoying, I promise. Um, Taylor, you have them too. They're so special. And my mom also got me, do you have the mugs? My mom got me a ton. I think she accidentally got me 3 sets, but I think there's 12 mugs. And it's so nice to have a friend over. Like anytime somebody walks through the door, I'm like, cup of tea, because I feel so special having them. This, Karen's getting way more than she asked for. Now I'm like going through every single thing I own. This is a jadeite. Help me. Bull George, my husband was in the Navy, if you don't know, and he deployed to Afghanistan for about a year. And he got this in a market in somewhere, Bagram. It's really, really beautiful. That's from Afghanistan. It's my Afghanistan bowl. And then what I think Karen was actually asking was, where are my ceramic pieces from? And these are all from East Fork pottery. And again, owning this amount of ceramics is not normal, but I had to fill these shelves for this photo shoot. So that's why. But I love these. They remind me of Heath. Heath Ceramics is a really cool ceramics company in Sausalito, right above San Francisco. These remind me of that style, but they're from Asheville, North Carolina, so they feel a little bit more special to me. And I got um, 2 blue, 2 pink, because again, it was a photo shoot, so we were like shooting food on them. I got a bunch of these bowls. These are actually what I started with. I've had these for about a year. Bunch of serving bowls. These are huge oval serving platters. East Fork material, I think. I actually don't love those. They're a little scratchy. So I won't show those. And these are one of my favorite things to eat food off of. The Maiden entree bowl, I think it's called. It's like a huge, I only like to eat off out of coupe bowls. That's actually why I really like these Carolina Irving plates, because they have a nice lip. I don't like a flat plate. I like for styling, I like it to have a lip. It's a lip on these plates. It's like a significant, feels bowly. This belong here. These are really great. I swear they were $2 a plate, and they're from Crate and Barrel. I love them. All right. Are you guys still yapping your heads off? Goodbye. Okay. Merry Christmas. What else? It's fun to have you guys in the kitchen. I haven't done a tour of the kitchen at all because it's just like overwhelmed me to even know where to start. So thanks for being my guinea pigs and coming into my kitchen and cooking Christmas breakfast with me. That was really, really fun. Also, thank you to anyone who's become a What to Cook Insider. If you missed it, we launched a new subscription tier. So Substack has had this ability to have like multiple subscription tiers forever. And we've been thinking for years about like what could a next tier be. So my base tier is $50 annually. And we created this $100 a year annually subscription that includes two gift subscriptions. So that pays for it in and of itself. It has tons of like brand perks. Like if you're a Thrive member, or if you become a Thrive member, you get $100 of shopping credit there. We've been working with all these brands. There's many more to come in 2026. So if you're interested, it was in the email I sent yesterday. If you want to gift what to cook this holiday season, that's the way to do it because it pays for itself. And there will be many more classes like this to come with me, with other people. I might rope Jillian, my fabulous Jillian. We can never figure out what to call her. She started as my friend, and now she's like my chief of staff. But that makes me sound too important. But she's my like, I don't know. She does everything. She like just helps me do everything. And she's a fabulous cook. And I really want to have her like do some demos. Just up the weekly recipe, cook alongs, um, but mostly with me. But I like the idea of having you guys like meet the other members of the What to Cook team. Molly's a fabulous cook. Um, anyway, more to come in 2026 for the What to Cook Insiders. All right, I'm gonna go put my strata in the fridge. You're a chief of staff. Okay, I'm gonna maybe chief of Emily. I feel like it makes me sound like I think I'm important chief of staff. Like, what are you, the president? But maybe you don't have to be chief of staff. Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas. I am taking off. I don't know, might wait till tomorrow, but I'm taking off of social media for 2 weeks. Everyone needs one. You're right, Emily. I wish you were mine, but I don't because I have Jillian. But if you ever need a new job, maybe we'll be expanding. Um, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, Shelly. I will send out this video somewhere. Maybe I'll send it out. Oh, I'll send it out in today's fudge pie, if that's not already out. Did that already go out? Today I'm sending out Julie's fudge pie and peppermint ice cream. It's not a homemade peppermint ice cream. It is vanilla ice cream, peppermint drops, peppermint stick, red food coloring. It's the best way to make peppermint stick ice cream if you can't find it locally, which I never can. Thank you guys. Thanks, Liz. That's a really nice thing to say. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Love to you all. Love to your families. I hope you all enjoy the strata on Christmas morning in between stockings and presents and all of the merriment. And see you guys in 2026.